Okay. Yeah. Good morning. I know. It's a few minutes later than what I normally start, but you know, things are what they are sometimes. And this is a Monday, and we all know what my Mondays are like. And today was a typical Monday. And trying to started off at 1 o'clock this morning when for some reason Spanky and Smokey both decided that my side of the bed was a WWE wrestling rink. And they weren't fighting, they were just bouncing all over the place. So we got them settled down, and I was like, okay, I'm going back to sleep. I laid in bed awake until 2 o'clock, could not go back to sleep. So I went ahead and got up. So I have effectively been up 8 hours already. Hmm. That is what it is, what it is. All right. Media. All right. Spanky finally warmed up. He was curled up in a ball, so put his blanket over him and he just stretched out. So he's finally warming up. Good. The media, anything dealing with Trump is an automatic outrage. I just, no, I am not buying tickets to the Mission Impossible movie. I've refused to buy tickets to, or even watch any of them, even when they were free. Uh, what the hell? Why am I getting a news flash about Doug Belichick's love life? Uh, I do not give a dang about Belichick's love life. That is not in my list of things to even worry about. Okay, let's see. What's this one here? Uh, Supreme Court rejects Karen Reed's double jeopardy appeal. Karen Reed's double jeopardy appealed. Oh, about the murder of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, deciding her second trial can continue. Earlier, okay. Well, if you are interested in the Karen Reed uh, trial, there the Supreme Court said sorry. Yeah, even though they're supposedly the jury was going to acquit her on two of the three charges, they because it was declared a mistrial, those acquittals keep going. Okay. Lord Snuggy, good morning to you. Do I know you? Because your name is not familiar. But you've got a wrench. Why would I give a wrench to somebody that I don't with an unfamiliar name? That is interesting. Why do I have I given a wrench to somebody that I do not that the name is not familiar? Are you do I know you under another handle? Because that handle is not familiar to me. So you're going to have to answer that for me, please. The most current outrage that the media has, and the international media, shall we say, is this right here. Blue suit at Pope's funeral. Trump's controversial choice. And they're making it out that Trump should not have worn that blue suit. And it's at the point. Okay, let's see. Is it? No, that's not the news article I want. That's not the article I want. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll show this picture. But see, Trump wasn't the only one to wear a blue suit. There's one member of the royalty. I can't remember which one. He's wearing a blue suit. Women were supposed to be wearing black. That looks more like a dark blue than it does a black. I need to get this back. Okay, phone, what are you doing here? You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing for me for some reason. And I don't understand why. All right, now I got you back to where you're supposed to be. Where is everyone? They are out and about doing other things. Hey, morning, Neil. And okay, Neil's driving around. But Lord Snuggy, do I know you under another name? Yep. And then if you want to look at this picture here, you can see there's a lot of people wearing blue suits. I mean, there's Trump there, but here's a blue suit, there's a blue suit, there's blue suits. I mean, there's another one there. Right there's a gray suit. That's not even blue or dark blue, it's gray. Oh, Master Snugs. Okay. So yeah, there's change your name because of meme. Oh, I've changed my avatar, but I just changed it because I felt my old mushroom that I'd had for decades didn't quite reflect me anymore. So it was too nice of a little guy. I pull him up every now and again when I'm feeling particularly happy. Then here's this picture. You can still see Trump here in the corner. And you see, blue ties, blue suits. But uh, they're making it out, and they're even quoting. Here we go. The Fortune magazine. The Vatican asked Pope Francis funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. And all these people, all these other articles, a lot of these, not all, but a lot of them, are quoting Fortune magazine, saying that the Vatican put out a dress code that everybody's supposed to wear all black. The Vatican had a strict all black dress code for Pope Francis's funeral on Saturday. Whoops. There we go. President Donald Trump wore a blue suit instead. Many people in the crowd, he wasn't alone, however, many people in the crowd also wore blue suits, and several world leaders, including former President Biden and Ukrainian President, also deviated from the norm. The Vatican, as it typically does, had a strict dress code for attendees. Okay. For men, it dictates. Okay, now remember, they're saying that earlier, the top paragraph, which is as far as most people read, the Vatican had a strict all black dress code. But you come down here, it says for men, it dictated dark suits with white shirts and long black ties. Shoes, long socks, coats, umbrellas were also asked to be black for the occasion. Now, but people are now, they're up in the mindset because up at the top of the article, the title, the Vatican asked Pope Francis to wear, Pope Francis funeral attendees to wear all black. Trump wore a blue suit. And then the very first paragraph you read, the Vatican had a strict all black dress code. But you get down here in the second paragraph, for men it dictated dark suits. So people are now thinking by the time they get to this paragraph that dark suit means black suit, which isn't necessarily the truth. Hey, morning, Data. Raman, good morning. Good morning, Digi. So this is this nonsensical game the media plays here. Now, to back this up, this is the English version of an Italian magazine or newspaper, The Message. That's the way I'm translating that. Il Messaggero. Okay, to me that looks like it probably translates to The Message. Attire and order for the Pope's funeral. A detailed look at the dress code and seating arrangements for dignitaries attending the Pope's funeral according to Vatican protocols. For men, a dark suit with long black tie and a button of the same color on the left lapel where only Vatican honors can be placed. For women, a black dress, preferably long, of the same color as gloves and veil on the head, with only the allowed ornament being a string of pearls. These are the prescriptions for those attending the Pope's funeral, according to well established protocol manuals that also define the seating arrangement for the dignitaries and head of state. So again, it says dark suit with the long black tie. Do I think Trump wore a blue suit intentionally? Yes. Did you? I do. And there's an article that I will get to that will go to that. And when the article, what the article says, and I mean, it's not like Trump doesn't have black suits. He wore a black suit to the funeral of President Herbert Walker Bush. Okay. Let me, and I can even find, okay, Trump at Bush's funeral. And images. See right here. There's a picture of Trump in a black suit wearing his blue tie and his American flag lapel pin. So Trump obviously owns a black suit, or has at least has owned a black suit. No, I don't think so, did you? I don't think it was to mess with the media or to mess with people. Let's see here. Top story, Russia declares a ceasefire for World War II event. Trump says not enough. Okay. Let's see here. Where's that article at? I think this is it here. And let me get down. Okay, I'm looking for this article I just read. Okay, here we go. Why did Prince William, Donald Trump, Joe Biden wear blue instead of black to Pope Francis's funeral? Prince William and Donald Trump aren't Catholic. That might explain why they skipped the traditional black at the Pope's funeral. Yeah, the suit that Prince William wore, I mean, that's what I call a midnight blue, which just happens to be my favorite color. My tux that I wore for my wedding was a midnight blue. As mentioned, the Catholic Church has a strict dress code for funerals, with black being the go to color to show respect and mourning. While black is the norm for Catholic funerals, non Catholics don't stick to that rule strictly. Given that Prince William is Church of England and Trump is non-denominational Christian, they might have opted for different colors as a nod to their own faiths. That said, it is unclear why Biden, a proud Catholic, didn't adhere to the Vatican protocol. So, and of course, the people start lying, these political pundits like this right here. Political analyst Monty Plufkins, according to dress code required by Vatican officials for Pope Francis's funeral, men are required to wear a dark suit along with a long black tie. Trump shows up in blue. It was a dark blue. Okay, that is a dark blue. That is not a sky blue. It's not a light blue. It's not any that. It is a dark blue suit. So the media, and of course, all the media jumped onto this as a way, just another reason to attack Trump. Now, did Trump really give a damn? I mean, did Trump think about whether or not these guys were going to attack him for wearing a dark blue suit to the funeral instead of a black suit? Yeah, I think he knew it was going to happen. I think his wife probably told him it was going to happen. And honestly, I think he just said, I don't give a flip. This is the suit I'm going to wear. This is my favorite suit. This is my huge suit. And I'm going to wear it. I don't think Trump really gave two shakes as to what anybody thought about the suit, that color of suit that he wore when he went to the funeral. Maybe it was just a mess with the media, but I think he did it to spite the media more than anything else. Not to mess with them, but just this is the suit I'm wearing. Um, I don't have a suit. Period. I haven't owned a suit for the past 100 pounds. And when I attended my mother's funeral, the only thing I could find a fit was a white shirt and a black vest. And that's what I wore to my mother's funeral. And I did have black slacks, of course. So, and nobody gave me any hell about that. Now, granted, I'm not Trump. I don't have tailors, sitting outside. We watched, the wife watched that Rodney Dangerfield movie here, the one where he's in college and he does the triple Lindy at the end of the movie. And got very, very young um, Robert Downey Jr. in it. But his character there, he's got tailors and everybody, just waiting outside the doors of his office, it seems like. And I'm sure Trump has got a tailor sitting there on phone, hey, I need a suit. You already got my measurements. Get me a black suit made. Get me whatever. So he could he have had a black suit made in a hurry for that? Sure, he could have. But he just went to his closet, pulled out his favorite blue suit, most likely, and that's what he wore. I mean, he didn't show up looking like a damn redbird. He didn't show up with multicolored hair. He didn't show up with a nose ring and ear piercings and everything else. He showed up in a respectful suit. And that's all that matters. That is all that matters. I mean, let's go back to this picture here, the one that, that's not a light blue, I'd say dark blue suit. A cup, I mean, it's not a midnight blue, but it's a dark blue suit. So I'm other than the hate that the media has for Trump, I'm not getting the uproar that they had over this. I'm just it's like I said, this is all about hatred for Trump. Okay, so let's see here. I can close up a half a dozen of these tabs now, and maybe my computer will operate a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now we all read or heard about DNI, Christy Nome having her purse with several $1,000s in it stolen. What was that? Is that thing beeping just okay? Yeah, I got a few more minutes. Authorities on Sunday arrested a second suspect in the theft of Department of Homeland Security Christy Nome's purse at a downtown restaurant. U.S. Secret Service Miami Field Office Special Agent in Charge Rafael Barros announced the arrest shortly after the Washington Field Office confirmed the arrest of the first suspect in the case. Barrows said Sunday the arrest was made with critical assistance from the Miami Beach Police Department and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Removal Operations, adding that the Miami Beach police officers located the suspect after receiving information from Washington and made the arrest without incident. Barrows said the second individual is believed to be a co-conspirator connected to a pattern of robberies and thefts in Washington, D.C., including the robbery against the DHS secretary. Nome's purse included major belongings, including $3,000 in cash, her DHS access badge, passport, driver's license, blank checks, and keys. The theft occurred as Nome was celebrating Easter. Now, if this had been any normal person, except Christy Nome, that had their purse stolen. If it'd been any normal, if it'd been my wife, if it'd been ramen, the you'd been lucky to be able to get a police officer to take a report without you having to go to the police station to do it. But these guys turned out everybody and their brother to look for this purse. Now, granted, theft of a passport, theft of her DHS access badge, theft of $3,000 in cash. And I tell you, I can't remember the last time I walked around with $1,000 in cash in my pocket. Oh, yeah, I can. It's when I went to pay for car repairs. And the shop I go to charges 8% additional charges for if you use your debit or credit card. So I try to pay them. I always try to pay them in cash and cash only. Saving 8% that's a healthy, on a $1,300 or $1,400 bill. That's a healthy chunk of change. But that's to cover the charges they get levied against them for credit card charges. Right there's a reason why a lot of your stuff is 8 to 10% higher in cost now. Well, let's go with 5 to 8%. And that's to cover the cost of processing your credit card or debit card or whatever kind of charge card you're using versus And if you pay cash, then that's just 5 to 8% pure profit for the company. Additional profit over whatever profit they already had marked in there, assuming you're going to pay by card. The individual is a career criminal who has been in our country illegally for years. So the DHS's head officer, is a victim of an illegal alien. Son of a gun. And again, if that had been any normal person, and when I say normal, I'm talking one of us'ns, they wouldn't have given two hoots about your purse being stolen. And if you said, well, I had $3,000 in that purse, I had my passport. Now, if you'd said you had your passport in there, that would raise an eyebrow or two. Because the last time I knew somebody that had a passport stolen or stole a passport, they got an additional 5 years on their prison sentence. Penalty, theft of a passport penalty. It's a. All right, here we go. Theft of a passport. You can be fined $250,000 and 10 years in prison. To steal a passport. This guy got 5 years in prison, an additional 5 years for when he stole a passport. But that was back in the 80s overseas in the barracks. He stole a guy's briefcase, and inside the briefcase was the man's passport. Okay, get rid of that. I don't need that anymore. Okay. Now get to the other story here. Dun dun dun. Is this at? That's not the one I want. That's not the one I. Do 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 do. I'm all right. Let's take a look at these two judges that have been arrested. We talked a little bit about the one Judge Cano, the New Mexican judge. Talked a little bit about him last week. Judge Cano and his wife, as I said last week, have been arrested for harboring an illegal who was a gang member. Okay. Uh, he was a Now he was a magistrate judge. All right. And the wife, or one of the two, uh, they took a cell phone that belonged to the guy, busted the crap out of it, then took the pieces and parts to a dumpster and got rid of it in order to prevent federal authorities from getting their hands on it. They knew that he was here illegally. They knew he was a gang member. They let him handle firearms. They have parties with him, barbecues. They invited him to their cookouts and got pictures of him at their cookouts. It's no wonder why he got arrested, and he and his wife. So the media, they're having a hard time. The media is having a hard time doing anything about him, coming up with too much about him, because there's so much wrong there that he did. Judge Duggan, on the other hand, and I love that picture that I found of her. Let me find that. Uh, uh, the mug shots of Judge Duggan. Somebody, I don't know who, they they put these two pictures side by side, and I absolutely love it. Here she is under her normal circumstances, and this wonderful picture of her in orange is her mugshot. Oh my. That's not a judge who's sitting there saying, I know I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm angry that I'm in jail, that I've been arrested by the federales. That is the face of a woman that says, I know I screwed up. I let my personal opinions, I let my personal beliefs interfere with what is right, interfere with what I knew was lawful. I let that happen. And son of a gun, I am going to jail for it. And just as a recap, while I change out syringes here real quick, just as a recap, she had this gentleman in front of her with the prosecuting attorney. And with the prosecuting attorney were victims. Victims of this man, this illegal, this gang member, who had been beaten and beaten severely. And they did nothing. They did nothing about it. She had the prosecuting attorney there. She had the victims. They had him. They had the defense attorney. Somehow or another, she found out the ICE agents were there in the building. She got angry about the ICE agents being there. Evidently, she went out, got so angry, she went out screaming at them. And while screaming at them, she directed them down to the head judge's office. And while they were down there talking to the head judge's office, she took the defending attorney and the illegal and invited them in the back. Now remember, the prosecutor and the victims are still sitting in the courtroom. She called the defense attorney and this illegal to the back and escorted them out the private entrance and exit to the building so that they could escape arrest, so that guy could escape arrest. She facilitated an escape. That in and of itself is illegal. They had a warrant for this guy. She knew they had a warrant. She let herself, her personal beliefs about illegals override. I've got no sympathy. I'm glad this photo makes me happy as all hell. But the media now, well, here's New York Times columnist David Brooks expressing his opinion about it.
Issue of immigration. There are a lot of people who are appalled by what the administration is doing. And there will be times for civil disobedience. And to me,
civil disobedience is not breaking the law. It is not allowing somebody with a warrant. It's not a judge allowing somebody with a warrant to escape. Civil disobedience is protesting, politely and peacefully protesting. Not what liberals called peaceful protesting, or mostly peaceful protesting back in 2020.
Let's say she did escort this guy out the door. If federal enforcement agencies come to your courtroom and you help a guy escape, that is two things. One, it strikes me as maybe something illegal.
Maybe something illegal. You got federales sitting there with a warrant to arrest somebody, and it may be something illegal. Okay.
But it also strikes me as something heroic. And in times,
There is absolutely no way I'd call that heroic. Absolutely no way. But this is what the left wing media is saying that she was heroic for doing this.
of trouble, then people are sometimes called to do civil disobedience. And in my view, when people do civil disobedience, they have to pay the price. That's part of the heroism of it, frankly. And so you can both think that she shouldn't have legally done this, and that morally protecting somebody against, or maybe not even in this case, but in other cases.
Maybe not in this case, but other cases. So now is that really heroic then? If what she's doing is not in this case something that you would consider it, but in other cases, maybe? You're talking out both sides of your mouth there, David Brooks.
Frankly, a predatory enforcement agency.
A predatory enforcement agency. An agency that for 4 years was not allowed to do their job because of a president and a leader of that agency, Mayorkas, and an attorney general, Garland, that refused to apply the laws of the country and allowed millions of illegals to enter this country.
Sometimes civil disobedience is necessary. And I don't know if we'll get to this point, but we could get to this point in weeks or months where acts of civil disobedience on a lot of fronts may be necessary.
What acts of it? Okay, let's acts of disobedience, civil disobedience. David Brooks, thought just occurred to me. What did you call January 6th? Did you call that an act of civil disobedience or did you call that an insurrection? Huh? I'm wondering. I am wondering. Let's see here. David Brooks, January 6th. I'm doing a real quick search to see if he could. That's Well, let's put it this way. David Brooks on January 6th pardons. Trump abused the pardon power. New York Times columnist David Brooks on PBS NewsHour said President Trump's pardons for January 6th rioters is a sign he values Steve Bannon's opinion over the rule of law. So, yeah, I mean, so we can already guess where he stood or where he stood and stand on the January 6th people. Good morning, Shio. Yeah, good morning, my friend. Uh, you brain hurt me. You brain hurt me with that, Shio. You know that, but I know you did that. You put a brain hurting on me. Um, Now, the Supreme Court, now, and since we're talking about illegals here in general, okay, going to be talking about illegals here. The Supreme Court has gotten involved on, of course, and made some rulings on, damn, it's that time of the month again already to pay mortgage. Oh, on the uh, deporting illegals. Okay, and I'm kind of curious how they're doing this, considering past rulings. No, you're not sorry. Come on, Shio. I know you better than that. Okay, the Supreme Court ruling that will temporarily block its efforts to deport Venezuelan nationals in Texas under the Alien Enemies Act. And then there's all these judges, and I don't know if the Supreme Court's rule. Uh, and then let's see here. Uh, uh, on visa revocations. Now in 2024, the uh, I'm trying to find. Okay, I'm sorry about this, guys. Okay, I can't find the one I was talking I had in mind, but anyway, there's the Trump's or the Secretary of State, this administration is reversing course on a bunch of visa revocations that they had because they're revoking visas. And there's one young lady, and that's in my email. Where did it? Where did my email go? Okay, 'cause, um, there's this girl and woman that is a PhD student who is arguing that she should have the right under the Constitution to fight her visa revocation. And let me see if I can find it under that. Uh, P, come on, PhD student fights visa. All right, here's one of the stories that it's one of several students that have made the news. Uh, this is out of Salt Lake City. Uh, as soon as the story comes up, I'll show it. Suguru Onada, a PhD student at Brigham Young University, is 1 year shy of completing his PhD. However, his student visa was revoked because he attended a, uh, rallies, anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian rallies. And now he's sitting there saying that he should have had the First Amendment right to attend these rallies and to protest and still stay in the United States. The problem with that is the Supreme Court, and just we got to remember this, okay? The Supreme Court's already ruled. As recent they ruled as recently as 2024 that the judges do not have any authority to, when it comes to visas, to reinstate them. The authority to revoke an approved visa is granted under 8 USC 1155, which allows the Secretary of Homeland Security to revoke a petition at their discretion. This broad statutory language gives USCIS significant latitude in deciding whether a previously approved petition can be rescinded. Unlike initial petition approvals, which require the petitioner to prove eligibility, revocations based on new information, procedural errors, or changes in circumstances. All right, revocation can be initiated by USC or the request of the Department of State, particularly when the consular officers discover discrepancies or adverse information during the visa processing. And okay, here we go. This story here, all right, the nation's highest court unanimously ruled the head of the Department of Homeland Security possesses expansive discretionary powers to rescind previously approved visa applications without subjected to judicial oversight. Burfo versus Mayorkas reaffirmed the Secretary's authority to revoke immigration petitions for what he deems to be a good and sufficient cause, as stipulated in 8 U.S. Code 1155. And Janet Jackson, Justice Jackson, the person who could not define what a woman was, she wrote the opinion for the court. Okay. This was December 10th of last year. Okay. Held Revocation of an approved visa under 1155 based on sham marriage determination by secretary is the kind of discretionary decision that falls within the purview, which strips federal courts of jurisdiction to review certain actions in the discretion of the agency. Section 1155 is quintessential to the grant of discretion. The secretary may revoke a previously approved visa petition at any time for what the secretary deems good and sufficient cause. Remember, this was written. This is a Supreme Court decision written in December of last year by Jackson. Such broad grant authority fairly exudes deference to the secretary and is similar to other statutes held to commit decision to agency discretion. Congress did not impose specific criteria or conditions limiting this authority, nor did it prescribe how or when a secretary must act. So there is nothing there in the law that says any court can sit back here and tell an administration that they cannot revoke a visa of anybody. All they have to do is determine that it's good. So it's up to the administration if they want to keep these. So, I mean, Jackson J. delivering the opinion of a unanimous court. 9-0. I wonder if Jackson is now, and the other liberal judges there are now questioning their decision, make this 9-0. But at that time, it was the Biden administration. Mayorkas was the head of the DHS. And like I've said before many times, Democrats in Washington, D.C. never consider the fact that they will not always be in power. The other side will be in power at some time or another. Many Republicans are the same way. They never consider the fact that Democrats are going to be in power one day. Right now, there's a lot of Republicans out there saying that there's no way a Democrat's going to win next election. There's no way they're going to lose the House or Senate in the midterms. And I'm saying I've got a damn good idea that they're going to lose at least the House in the midterms. So I wish these House Republicans would get off their butts and start passing bills and get them sent up to the Senate to get passed in the Senate so that Trump can sign them into law. Trump has signed over 100 executive orders. I think he's coming up. How many executive orders has Trump signed? Anybody know how many executive orders Trump has signed? I mean, he hasn't even been, I think he's how many executive orders by Trump 2025? He signed 137 executive orders already. That is a lot. He signed 130 executive orders, 36 memoranda, and 36 proclamations. And that's as of April 22nd. Now, I don't agree with all of them. I agree with a lot, but I don't agree with all of them. Some of them I think, yeah. But there should be at least 100 new laws, bills being passed by the House and being sent over to the Senate. I do, just take the executive order, rewrite it, take it word for word even, but rewrite it as needed to be a bill, vote on it, and send it over to the Senate. One by one, send them over. As y'all probably know, if you don't know, should have guessed. And if you haven't guessed, I'm going flat right tell you. I am a believer in single issue bills. I do not like omnibus bills at all. Shio, I love you anyway, my friend. You no need to apologize. Everybody needs to have a bit of in their lives on occasion. But yeah, these people need to be getting their butts in gear and getting things done. For the simple fact that, you know, because as long as we leave it up to judges to make decisions, the Democrats and the ACLU are judge shopping. They're making certain that everything goes up before one of them 240 some Democrat judges to get them up before them to get the rulings that they want. You know that as well as I do. That's exactly what they're doing. And it needs to get better. And speaking of ICE, ICE had a huge raid in Colorado at a party. Uh, they got 100 members. An ICE raid in Aurora, Colorado, targeted over 100 alleged members of the TDA, Venezuelan gang. That's good news. I'm happy to see it. I want to see MS-13. I want to see these guys deported. I want to see the TDAs. I want to see them deported. Send them back to Venezuela and let Venezuela deal with them. Now, of course, people say, "Oh, my daddy, my brother, my husband, he was taken and he's not a member of TDA." Meanwhile, he's got the tattoos on his hands, neck, face, and chest, across his back. I I've got no problem with it. Let them go. Get them the hell out of the country. Now, if somebody got picked up by it that wasn't part of it, and they don't have the tattoos, and they don't have the criminal record, cut them loose, let them go. But everybody else, get them that, put them on the bologna sandwich in an airplane. I've said that from day one. Give them a green bologna sandwich, a bottle of water, and put them on an airplane. Get them the hell out of the country. Escort them to Mexico, to the Mexican border. Let them walk across. They came across the Mexican border, put them back across the Mexican border. Let Mexico deal with them. Maybe Mexico start dealing with their southern border a little bit better. Maybe Mexico start dealing with their shoreline a little bit better. And that's what the U.S. needs to do. Start dealing with our shores. Need, I mean, the Coast Guard is the butt of a lot of military jokes, as I understand. I've made a few coastal jokes myself. But get the Navy and Coast Guard out there patrolling our shoreline. Get the Coast Guard and Border Patrol going up the river between the U.S. and Mexico. Get get these people going. And that the floating barrels with barbed wire that Texas put up. I love it. You say there's part of the Rio Grande that is hard to patrol? Them floating barrels with concertina wire on top and going down into the water, weighted down and put on our side of the river. Hey, I got no problem with that. Let Mexico complain. Maybe Mexico will start watching their borders a little bit better. Well, now you're starting to look like Russia and the Berlin Wall. There's a difference. We're trying to keep illegals out. Berlin Wall was built to keep people in. I saw the Berlin Wall. I went to Checkpoint Charlie. This is before it fell. That as evil as the purpose behind that, that was something, that ideal for what we need. And that space in between. Now, while uh, the Berlin Wall, that area had dogs patrolling, and it had rumored to have landmines in areas of it. Rumored. I don't know for certain. That was just rumors. Uh, well, I don't advocate that, going to that extreme. I do advocate having aircraft patrolling our borders. I do advocate having uh, people in jeeps and horseback patrolling that area between, put up two walls, 100 yards in between and betwixt. And in that 100-yard area, you've got people patrolling, you've got cameras, you've got drones with night cameras, night vision cameras. Do that. Put these things up. And on the areas where we can't put the wall and it's prohibitive to have people patrolling on foot, by horse, or by vehicle, put them barrels in the Rio Grande. take care of that business. Again, I've got no problem with it. I think it's a wonderful idea. I want to see headlines: 500 arrested, 200 arrested, 100 arrested, 50 arrested. I want to see headlines of these groups of people arrested. I know we'll never see 500, but that'd be a nice goal to reach. I want to see, we were having thousands of people a day coming across that border illegally. Let's have thousands of people a week arrested and deported. Congress can step into this. Congress really can. And you hear uh, uh, Los Angeles, they're having a shortfall of money. They're having to lay off workers. They're actually laying off city employees in Los Angeles. But they're finding plenty of money to support illegals. That think of it, the city of Los Angeles is going to lay off city employees. Meanwhile, they're funding housing and food and clothing and everything else for illegals. Make that make sense. They're taking U.S. citizens and you don't have a job because we can't afford you. But we can afford to give money to illegals. We can afford to send the illegals' children to school. We can give them bus tokens. We can ensure that illegals have got a level of life, but we can't make certain we can't pay you. Why does that make sense? How does that make sense? And just in case you don't think I'm telling the okay. Is that being shared? No. Why didn't that share? Okay, my for some reason StreamYards wouldn't let me share. Here we go. LA City workers, animal advocates, and others urged against layoffs cuts during Van Nuys budget hearing. The second of two opportunities for the public to share thoughts on proposed city budget for 2024-25 fiscal year will come Monday. During 3.5 hour session in Van Nuys, more than 200 people, half of them unionized city employees, implored the five-member budget to reject a proposal to lay off 1,647 workers. Karen Bass's proposed $13.9 billion budget for 25-26 fiscal includes eliminating more than 2,700 city positions, with 1,647 layoffs and elimination of 1,053 vacant positions. That is outrageous. But LA Let's see if I can get something here. How much money they fund a year to illegals? I swear my computer's getting slower and slower every day. The uh, let's see here. One proposal calls for LA to explore providing space for nonprofit legal service providers to support illegal immigrants. Okay, they're spending money on illegals because they're a sanctuary city, but they're laying off people. They're eliminating jobs. Make it make sense. You've got 5 Congress critters flying down to Venezuela or El Salvador to rescue an MS-13 member who beats his wife, a man who was twice judged to be deported. And one judge kicks up and says, well, he's got gang members from another gang that want to hurt him, so we're going to let him stay. Now, honestly, what Trump should have done, what the ICE and such should have done in that case, okay, fine. Let's find another judge that says, okay, yeah, we can send him back now. Overturn the first judge's ruling. That's what they should have done. But they didn't, and now we got 5 Congress critters flying down there to rescue him, to get him out of a prison he so, in my opinion, deservedly belongs to be in. All right. Y'all remember who Alvin Bragg is? The district attorney of Manhattan. What in the heck is going on with my computer here? It seems like he's not such a nice guy. 40-year veteran of Manhattan's DA office was harassed and demoted while caring for dying parents. A 40-year veteran of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office faced cruel discrimination and retaliation at work while she cared for her ailing elderly parents, a new lawsuit claims. Joan Davila, the demoted former head of the office's crucial extradition office, suffered years of caretaker discrimination and retaliation and harassment, including a temporary revoking of her health insurance covered and being told to stop talking about her recently deceased dad, according to her lawsuit and an exclusive interview with the Post. And there she is. Now, if the Manhattan DA was white, I'm sure she would have thrown in racism charges. While her official complaints were ignored, Davila tried to ask for help from higher ups in the office, but everyone ignored her. There's no empathy, calling the office she loved for nearly a decade a toxic environment. All this combined because of the care of my parents. And there's Alvin Bragg. Her lawyer added, when the DA's office violates anti-discrimination laws, it betrays the very principles it's sworn to uphold, and it must be held accountable. Gee whiz, where have we heard that before? Must be held accountable. No one's above the law. Alvin Bragg, I know I heard you say that a few times. No one was above the law. Meanwhile, you and your office was violating the law by what this lawyer is saying. I hate the New York Post. Davila said the retaliation against her began in 2019 when she first used paid family leave to care for her parents, with her taking up to 3 months at a time. Well, remember, FMLA, that was a brainchild of the Democrats. She said when she returned to work, she was told she couldn't get any more overtime, leading her to file a complaint with the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity. Things escalated in 2023 when she returned from another 3-month paid family leave to find her extradition position given to an employee hired while she was gone. I came back to nothing. I was devastated. That's one of the things we said about FMLA when it was passed. Things I said about it. You've got people taking off leave for 3 months at a time. You're going to have to replace them. Then they're going to come back expecting to have that same job available to them. But you've got to have that job being done while they're gone. But you're under the law, you have to let them be gone for months at a time. So again, make it make sense. She was offered a new role as head administrator for the trial bureau, but when her father needed her help with care again in 2024, her new supervisor began retaliating against her. Erratic deadlines and instructions were part of the retaliation, like sabotage. Soon her overtime, which was restored, although just a couple hours per pay period, was denied again. Her suit claims that her supervisor, Saban Karti, explained the move to her by telling her, "I had to do your work while you were away." Davila said meetings with her union and the office's COO went nowhere. The worker said a message sent to DA Alvin Bragg explaining her situation didn't move the needle either. So Bragg was made aware of it. None of my OEEO complaints went forward. No one did absolutely anything. Davila said in February, just days after she filed another complaint, Cardi stormed into my office where she proceeded to rip into the plaintiff for taking leave. Well, under the law, FMLA, she's allowed to do it. You guys love that law, pushed it through. Cardi said she doesn't understand why you keep mentioning your father, and added Davila is probably just doing this to build a case and accuse her of recording this meeting. The meeting ended with a threat of demotion. When the worker then began making doctor's appointments for herself because of stress, she discovered her health insurance was abruptly canceled and she missed 2 paychecks. Despite her insurer telling her that only the DA's office could cancel her coverage, the office denied they had done so. Took 2 weeks to get it reinstated. You know, when it comes to this kind, we told them what would happen to the FMLA. but they pushed it through anyway. But they're not even living, I mean, it's almost impossible to live up to it. So again, Alvin Bragg, you're not above the law. And it's evident that you're not following the law. Or your office wasn't following the law. All right. Okay, I don't know if you can hear it, but my throat sounds like it feels like it's getting ready to go. So I'm going to have to go ahead and call this before I start croaking. I've got 3 more stories I wanted to cover, but it ain't going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Y'all have a good one. All right. I will not be able to stream tomorrow. I've got an appointment, follow-up appointment about some samples that they cut out of me, biopsies. So I'll be back on Thursday. So y'all have a good one. Hopefully nothing too earth-shaking happens between now and then. So be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Bye.